A little while ago, there was a teenager I knew, very smart kid who came from a very frum religious family, but he was very clearly becoming less and less religious. He was out of yeshiva and he would always have this negative energy, and I could tell that he was clearly in a lot of pain, and I honestly felt very bad for him. And one day we both happened to be waiting around together, and I told him, I don't really know your personal life that well, but I think I know what's going on. There's someone in your life that is supposed to be a role model, and they are doing things that you think is just plain wrong and hypocritical, and they blame it on Judaism and on Hashem, and you're smart and you know it's wrong, and you don't want any part in this anymore. That's what's happening, am I right? And he smiled and he said, yeah, you're in the right direction. But then he put his frown back on. He says, so what? So I told him to imagine for a second that you wake up in the morning and you make yourself a nice fresh cup of hot coffee. And you ask your friend to pass you the sugar, but he decides to prank you. And he spills out the sugar and he fills it with salt. And you take it and you pour it in and you take a sip, and of course you spit it out all over the floor, and your friends are all laughing and they think it's hilarious. Now, if this happened to you, what would you do the next morning? You would simply double check that it's sugar before you pour it in, and you would move on with your life. But what if I told you that this happened to me, and I decided that I'm never gonna have sugar ever again because from my experience, sugar is really bitter? You'd think I'm crazy. Why would you deprive yourself of sugar just because somebody claimed that sugar is really bitter? But really, that is exactly what you are doing. Because that person who's acting like a hypocrite, they may want you to think that they are doing what Hashem really wants. But it's not true. They're pranking you. Hashem is not bitter. Judaism is not bitter. That person who's being a hypocrite, he's the only one who's bitter. And what a shame it'll be if you threw away something so sweet just because somebody fooled you into thinking that it was really bitter. So if you want to channel your feelings of rebellion in a way that'll make you happy too, then the same way you were smart enough to realize that what they were doing was wrong, you need to take that smart head of yours and go back to yeshiva and figure out what exactly it is that Hashem does want you to be doing. And then you could explain to the world very clearly why the things they are doing are wrong and a misinterpretation of what Hashem really wants us to be doing. Wouldn't that be the biggest slap in the face of hypocrisy? Anyways, I met him a few weeks later and he looked like a new person. He looked happy, he told me he was back in yeshiva, and I was a bit shocked when he even asked me if we could discuss some of the Torah he was learning. So, of course I know that it's very possible that his change had nothing to do with me. But if you happen to know anyone who looks like they're struggling,
then it's definitely worth a shot to try to share this with them.